Yes, we made a lot of change there. First of all, we took time to prepare the transition, right? So you cannot just flip a switch. You don't one day you go out and announce to the market that now we're a subscription business. So you're effectively managing both businesses at the same time, which is actually what makes it hard because you create this transformation, this catalyst to change, and everybody is really trying to move from one to another, but you still have the, let's call it the legacy business or the old business. And not all customers are ready to move at the same time. So you do need a hybrid model, right? So some customers, you start selling subscriptions to new customers, you start converting existing customers from perpetual to subscription. You need to create incentives for the sellers to do that, for customer success to help that happen, but also, and more significantly, to the market, right? So customers have to see the value of the new business model to be able to move. From an incentive standpoint, and before I go to incentives, what we did was we modeled a lot. So we did a lot of scenario modeling. We took the installed base and started looking at cohorts, understood creating migrating cohorts, who would move first, who would move last, understanding from customer size, customer spend, geography. We created offerings that enabled that change. And also for new customers, we had to come up with a different way of packaging our products and also different talk track, right? Much more based on value and lifetime and customer life cycle versus just feature function, which is what traditionally people were good at, right? This being a long-term engineering company, people were really anchoring on the features of the product.
Did you get more resistance from customers or more resistance from your internal folks?
Good question. I think we had pockets of it, but it was easier to get the internal team on board than customers because I think the reason for that is customers are much more and much more diverse, right? So there's cultural pockets, there's different businesses, and some customers are used to what they are, and it takes longer to explain them the value of changing kind of the way they interact with us and the business model. And with sellers, not so much because they're all subject to the same process, right? So things that we changed the incentive system, right, immediately, and we started rewarding subscription growth, multi-year commitments. Also, we created a specific area of the comp plan to reward maintenance to subscription conversion. We also gave more to new logo acquisition, right? So as a seller, you're like, okay, so I was working in this model where I had to sell perpetual licenses, plus renewals, plus expansions, plus basically everything. We had a lot of people just essentially managing existing customers and just existing relationships. There's a lot of sellers that like to sell to new customers as well, right? That are logo like hunters. We have a lot of people that were more farmers, right? And that led to also some of the changes that we did that I'll talk later on segmenting the sales force. But anchoring it to incentives and behavioral change, I think the change in the way we incentivize people was a very big and powerful lever to align them on the transformation.
I imagine, I know from experience that this issue of compensation is a challenge. Because you have a perpetual license, which might be, say, I'll just use from round numbers, worth 1 million. You got an annual subscription worth, say, 50% of that, say 500,000. And then you have the possibility of getting a 3-year commitment to a subscription. Were you compensating on the multi-year subscription, or were you compensating only on the first year? I know this is an issue that many of our listeners are dealing with or have had to deal with. Curious how you tackled that challenge. Were you compensating on the whole lifetime value that they committed to, or I shouldn't say lifetime, the committed value, or the just the annual first year value?
We started compensating on the committed value versus the first year value. And that was a conscious change because we really wanted to drive seller behavior and seller thinking to do that. And if you are telling people to go out and say, well, this is a 3-year deal, but you need to wait for your second year and your third year to get your commissions paid on the deal you did just now, it removes some of the incentive because sellers want to be paid upfront on the deal that they do. So we consciously did that in the beginning to really make sure that the change was real and we would get people on board. So that was a
And cash flow wise, were you getting the commitment from the customer up front, or was it paid out over time?
we were getting the commitment from the customer upfront.
So it makes it a lot easier to pay then.
We were getting the commitment from the customer up front. And what we did, we said, well, if you get the commitment from the customer up front, we pay you up front. If you get the commitment over time, we pay you over time, right? And that makes it both fair, but creates the incentive for people to go out and get upfront commitments.